Maybe you're off to a great day this week, and welcome to the 4th edition of the Cisco Morning Huddle with Coach Brent West. I'm Lee Lewis. We're live here at First Financial Bank in Cisco on Conrad Hilton in beautiful Cisco, Texas. Thanks for listening in. If you're close by, drop in, have some refreshments, say hello. They're giving away a mug for homecoming, so come register for that. You can have it personalized. I believe they're giving away on the Wednesday before the game. So that's in, 3-4 weeks, something like that, no stuff. So come on by and sign up for that if you want to get a free mug. Once again, thanks for listening in, and be sure you stop in and thank the folks here at First Financial Bank for sponsoring this weekly edition of the Cisco Morning Huddle. 2 weeks ago, the Lobos finished their non-district schedule with the big win over Comanche, 43-0. Here at Chesley Field, Coach West, it's been a couple of weeks. Hope you enjoyed your week off, but talk to everybody a little bit as we begin back those 2 weeks again in that game with Comanche and how the staff felt coming out of the game.
Well, it was a great game for us. It started with a special teams play. Cody Hoover returning a punt. We had good field position, even if we hadn't punted it. Our defense put a 3 and out together. Man, did they block it well as far as the punt goes. Hoover was untouched. I don't know if anybody got within 5 yards of him. Hoover kind of acted like he did a whole lot right there, but really he didn't. We did a good job providing a great hole for him. Everybody went to pat him on the back, but there was definitely some great blocks involved on that return. But it just set the stage for us. Our defense gave us 3 and out, which we had discussed all week long. That Comanche's going to do a good job of putting together drives and build the block and give us 2 opportunities. And we did a great job up front. Our defensive line did a great job of stopping those little plays, those little base dives, and they've done a good job of picking up the 3 yards on and allowing the clock to run. And we did a good job giving our offense some opportunities. And that was the big key. I felt like we had a lot of opportunities to get something started. We had great field position all night long on top of the special team play by Hoover. So pretty excited about it. I was excited to see Taylor Massey have some big runs. Some of those were reads we threw together. We kind of got off that a little bit the first 2 weeks, but we allowed him to open things up a little more against Comanche and all of the Washingtons. He read very well and had several long touchdown runs. Can't say enough about the O-line. I thought they graded out well. Most of them graded out close to 80%.
2 things stood out to me in the game. Number one, defense. I don't know, I can't remember the first down total for Comanche. It's not very much considering the amount of time they had the ball. So a lot of 3 and outs. The other thing was, there in the second half, you were able to give some guys that really hadn't gotten any rest the first 2 games, a little bit of rest. And so you had some subs come in and give them a break.
And came in and did a great job, and I think that's what's important. Come get some varsity reps so that someday in a big game, if we do have a critical injury there and we're needing someone to come off and help us, that we don't fall off too much. And that's what made last year's team so special. We had kids that could come off the bench and we didn't fall off much. And there was not a place for them to pick them. We're always looking for that. Hey, the safety came out this particular play, Coach West. Let's throw the post on. So we're looking for things like that, and then obviously the opposition is smart enough to see if something like that happens, that person's going to get picked on. And when they get picked on, it's important that they're able to make a play or they're going to get picked on the entire game. And I felt like, man, we came in, we subbed some kids in that didn't have a whole lot of varsity reps, and they played well, and that was important for them.
You mentioned injuries. You guys had a week off to kind of heal up some bumps and bruises, I suppose. Talk about the status of everyone's health going into tonight's game.
We are healthier right now. We're just loading up on the bus here on Friday. We're as healthy as we've been since the first scrimmage. So, knock on lots of wood, we are healthy going into this game holiday.
Okay, before we go into our first break this morning, I wanted to take a look at what's going on in the rest of the district as we head in. This is the district opener for everyone tonight. We saw where Eastland, Henrietta, Millsap, all those guys, along with y'all, are 3-0 going into tonight's game. And then I believe Holiday and City View are both 2-1, and then Jacksboro and Nakona at 1-3. Any surprises, or do you kind of feel like maybe everybody's where they thought they would be?
Yeah, the biggest surprise to me is we have 4 teams in this district that are undefeated. And that's pretty impressive. I think if you look across the state of Texas, you won't find any districts that are 3-0, especially 4 of them that are 3-0 in a district like ours. So we knew this would be a competitive district, and not really a big surprise there, but 4 pretty good teams right now rolling along. And then there's Holiday that's 2-1, and Wichita Falls City View 2-1, and the folks that they lost to have put together a pretty good football team. So obviously the district is wide open. First district game, everybody's undefeated.
All right, there you have it. We're going to take our first break. Thanks for listening again. You still have time to stop in, grab some cookies, some coffee, whatever you need to get here. Please stop on by and say thanks to the folks at First Financial Bank. You're listening to the Cisco Morning Huddle on KATX Radio. Back in 2 minutes. Lee Lewis alongside Coach West here, and appreciate you guys listening in this morning. Got a lot of coffee here. It's free. Come by and get it if you want to. Coach West last night, district openers for junior high and JV, and man, I think the total combined score in those 3 games was 124-0. It's kind of a rare thing to shut everyone out on a Thursday night, but kudos to your guys last night. They looked really good.
Well, you know, everybody's come in the office and found Coach Brunson this morning. They said the pressure's on. Jay Spear and Adams and Pope have all said, hey, we did our job. We shut out the Eagles on Thursday. So, yeah, there's a little pressure on Coach Brunson tonight to get the job done. Evidently, we played great defense in Holiday. I stayed home and watched the JV game, but just listening to my coaches talk, they did a great job of being disciplined and doing their job, which is difficult at the 7th and 8th grade level. There's so many, and you're seeing a spread offense that we're not real familiar with. Those kids haven't been taught all the little things that go with that, and yet we still got down the hill line on the zone and gap exchange to the quarterback if he was to pull that. And we felt like that junior high is way further along than we've been defensively, at least discipline-wise, in a very long time. So very proud of it. And we saw the same thing last night at the JV level. Our kids flew around, they got a quick start, got up on Holiday pretty quick. But some of the things that Holiday did out of their offense, it puts a bind on it. And if you're not disciplined, you'll see some big yardage being ripped off. Our kids played hard. They did their job. The secondary let nothing get behind them, and I just can't say enough about how we played on defense.
Yeah, you're talking about the defense. This comes to mind. A lot of it takes all of them to be able to succeed like they have. But on Friday nights, you guys have 2 defensive shutouts in 3 games. It would have taken a miracle probably to shut out Walt, but those linebackers and the guys in the secondary, those guys on the stat sheet are getting a lot of tackles. To me, if you don't have a front forward that can do all the things that they're being asked to do, those other guys in the back end might not have as much success. And so I'd like you to talk specifically about those front 4, and maybe they don't get as much credit unless they come up with a sack or something as those other guys, but they have a pretty huge responsibility to then turn it over to the linebackers and the safeties.
They do, and it's, you look at our scheme, and in many situations, that front 4, their job is not to make the tackle. And that's difficult to sit here and say, hey, you're not supposed to make this play right here. You're supposed to do this according to what that offensive lineman told you to do. And the linebackers and the safeties have got to clean things up and be the guys to make that open field play. They have to be humble in that, and they have to be disciplined, knowing that I may not have as good stats as the 2 safeties do, but I'm going to do my job anyway. And I may not make the paper on Saturday morning with 12 tackles like they did, but I've still got to get my job done because the team is the most important. And if I don't do my job, I'm going to get fired because Coach Brunson that's his baby. Those defensive linemen is what he takes care of. And he makes sure, because that's where you start. I mean, we've got to win the battle up front and make the open field tackle. Our safeties right now are our 2 leading tackles, and usually when you say that, you're 0-3 and not 3-0. But our D-line's doing their job. Those safeties are making plays on the line of scrimmage, not 15 yards down the field, and I think that's what's important about our safeties. They make plays on the line of scrimmage, and they're doing a great job of it.
Talk a little bit about still staying with the defensive line. 3 of those guys have been there and done that, so to speak. But they're kind of doing it, maybe not Mark so much, but the other 2 guys are doing it at different positions. And then you've got Justin Mina who's come in, and not trying to single out anyone in particular, but he's had to come in, and he really hasn't had as much time as the other 3 guys learning the scheme. He was here in junior high, I believe, but then he's missed 2 years. So talk about, them as a unit having to kind of change positions, and then Justin coming in.
Well, Mina's also come in and learned it so quickly. He's a natural learner. We were impressed with how quickly he caught on with that gap exchange type defense, how well he squeezed the traps. And normally you can take a defensive tackle that has moved into Cisco and trap him for the first year. Guard gets under the Mike linebacker, and he's straight up the field, and he gets trapped over and over and over again. And Mina, that happened once too. And well, you might could get him once a week there for a while, but now, I mean, he's disciplined, he's figured it out, he understands what Coach Brunson wants out of him, and that's the most important thing. He understands the concept, and he's getting better at reading things. All of those defensive linemen are understanding and are smart enough to know that why is this guard setting light right here? Is he sitting there to pull? Are they about to run a power or a trap? Or is he about to pop for pass? And you can go years of coaching varsity football and not have a defensive lineman understand that. And right now we have 4 that understand why that guard's setting light. Why is he leaning a little to the left here? What's that tackle doing over there? Why is this split, a 3-yard split over here on the guard side? And we all know that. As coaches, we can understand what's about to happen, but getting your kids to see that in a split second and you know what's coming is critical if you want to be good. And I think we've got 4 linemen that understand that. And we have 3 linemen that are playing on offense. And that's something we don't want to do, that we're being kind of forced to do this year. Those guys are going to be a little more out in the 3rd and 4th quarter. They're having to learn several positions. Right now, Bailey Edwards is a starting left tackle. He's a backup guard, and he's starting over there in a position that he hadn't played. So he's got a lot on his shoulders, but they all do, and we're proud of them. They are doing an outstanding job, and we hope that continues.
For a long time now, you and I visited on this program about the bye week and how you guys approach that week. As compared to other years, anything special last week, or was it pretty much the same old grind and the guys getting in the weight room and getting after it again?
It was a grind, and some of those seniors understand it, and they've been there, and they dread it a little bit. And it's okay to dread that open week because we are going to go in and hammer them a little bit. We try to bring a little more discipline back. We're back in that weight room, a little more of even the mat room, a little more off-season involved in that, and we're, they know it's important for our program, and it's okay to dread it, but don't go through the motions, and let's find a way to get better during this week. And I felt like they all did that. We threw the bench press down yesterday, and I had 2 running backs close to 300 pounds on the bench, so we feel like we're getting stronger through football season, where a lot of teams I've had was just able to maintain. In fact, some teams we've had has gotten weaker over the years, and those teams usually they lost some games early in the playoffs and even some district games that they shouldn't have. We feel like right now we are getting stronger. Now, we're healthy, and that's a big part of it too. If you've got some injuries that you're nursing, obviously you're not going to be able to spend the time needed in the weight room, depending what the injury is. But we've gotten stronger these 3 weeks or these 4 weeks preparing for district, and I certainly hope that will help us.
All right, appreciate it. Time for us to take another break. Once again, you're listening to the Cisco Morning Huddle on KATX Radio. Back in 2 minutes. Load up the Yellow Dog, another long trip tonight. Talk about Coach Johnson and the Holiday Eagles. Of course, you guys are familiar with him. Was over at Colorado City for several years and had some successful programs. Do you see similarities from what he did there?
Yeah, very similar. Defensively, they base out of a split six. We saw that at every level yesterday, 7th grade on up. But he has thrown together a stack, which is what Wall ran. We've seen it already this year, which is good. But he's never run a stack. I've never seen him run that. So he has thrown in a little different look and stumped out of it a great deal. But it is a difficult thing as an offensive coordinator and head coach to work on a stack and a split six. I think this is the first time I've ever had to do that. And man, it messes up your rules. It's hard to get it all right. Your O-liners stay confused. Luckily, we've had 2 weeks to work on it. It has caused me to be a little simpler this week. We've stayed very, very base because of the two fronts and uncertain on which one we're going to get the most of. So we just had to simplify things, and that's just all there is to it. There's no scheming when you see that many defenses, and that, especially that drastic of a change from a split six to a stack, definitely messes up a large part of our rules. So we'll be simple. We'll play football. We'll do our jobs. But offensively, he's the same. He's running that Tony Franklin system, which is a great system. It's the system that Canadian runs. Hal Mumme had run that at a certain point. Texas Tech has kind of made that pretty famous, but it is a version of all of those offenses. He does a very good job of it, knows what he's doing. At times they will know huddle, at times they'll huddle up and slow things down. But very similar to what he has always done at Colorado City.
All right. Probably mentioned this throughout the course of the rest of the season, but average fan probably just looks at Friday night and probably takes into consideration point differential in regards from week to week comparisons. You guys, I'm sure, have a lot finer analysis of what's going on with the program. Do you feel like you're making the improvement that you're hoping to see as we've ended the non-district schedule now and going forward into district?
Well, I certainly hope so. I know that our sub-varsities have gotten better every week. I mean, that's very visible, and I think you see the execution difference. They have gotten better, which is what we ask them. At the varsity level, I felt like we struggled against Breckenridge, but we got better the next week versus Wall, and then I think last week we saw a huge difference executing our offense, at least against Comanche. Will that continue? The jury is still out on that. We've got to produce tonight and Holiday, and I felt like we've had 2 pretty good weeks of practice. We've executed in practice very well, but executing on a Friday night is a different thing. How we will react to a little pressure. I felt like we reacted well against Wall when the pressure was on, but still, we still have some kids that have not stepped into a true varsity type environment and need a lot of reps. We need to execute better tonight, and hopefully that will happen. We definitely did that yesterday.
I know that you're hoping the progress happens throughout the year. You get to see that take place, but like you said, until some of them get put in a spot to do it, you don't really know for sure, and we pray that happens for all of them through the course of the year. I believe we got an early out today, is that right?
We do. Send off at 2:15.
All right, and then scheduled next week, nothing different that you know of right now?
Nothing different. We will we'll have Henrietta next week, and that is a home game on Friday. So our JV will be traveling to Henrietta, and our junior highs will be playing here same time as 5 o'clock.
So no freshman game, they'll be with the JV?
We are looking into that. My grades come out Friday.
Okay.
We have some things that we're looking. We've had an injury or two. We are contemplating that,
okay,
but nothing is set.
We'll pass it along if we get word. Otherwise, just plan on JV there on the road and junior house here at home. Hey, a couple of things before we wrap it up here, almost out of time. I want to be sure to let all our listeners know, hey, stop in at First Financial Bank and thank them for sponsoring this every week. They're sponsored this show, and they are a huge sponsor for us on Friday night broadcasts as well. So thank them, and do me a favor too, and stop in and thank Terry Slavens and the group over at KATX. Those guys have gone far and above, way beyond what needs to happen for us to be able to make this broadcast happen. And Terry and his crew work really hard to make sure that we're able to bring you Cisco Lobo football every Friday night, and we are certainly glad to do that. So stop in, tell them thanks. You might scare the daylights out of them, but tell them thanks anyway for me. I want to thank Matthew Householder back in the studio, making sure we get this all in today. Be sure to stay tuned. Right after this, Terry Slavens and Coach Watkins will have the Eastland Morning Huddle over in Eastland. Be sure to stay tuned tonight. KATXradio.com. Click on Listen to the Lobos. And 98.5 KWBY will have a pregame at 7 o'clock and kick off at 7:30 as the Big Damn Lobos head up to Holiday to take on the Eagles in the district opener for both teams. For Coach West and myself, Lee Lewis, signing off. Hope you have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.